What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Cacus in the flesh, and today we're doing things a little bit differently. Yeah, I know your boy needs a haircut. You can tell Diablo and a new Destiny season came out at the same time because I have not been touching grass. But in any event, recently something very interesting happened. Bungie actually came out and made a huge Twitter thread asking community members for feedback and suggestions on how to improve the game. So we're going to be going through some of those suggestions, taking a look at the more popular replies, because honestly guys, these might be the changes and the things being implemented within the future of Destiny. And I think it's a very interesting thread. Some people have been kind of memeing on them like, wow, Bungie is so lost on what to do with their own game, they have to ask us for help. I don't really feel that way. Like, to be honest, I'd rather they be asking us for help than not, right? I'd rather they actually be outsourcing some of the suggestions, because even if you have a big, team of developers, you can't think of everything, or you might overlook something, or you might underestimate how much something matters. So again, I think it's a very cool thing. So, here's what they said. Hey Guardians, we're putting out a call for any ability, armor, build crafting, and weapon-specific questions/feedback you have about the current live game. We've listed the topics below, so be sure to drop feedback or questions under the right topic so we can keep them organized. And then here are the different, main topics. We have give us your feedback or questions surrounding your Guardian's abilities. Then they have feedback on weapons and exotic weapons. Then they have exotic armor and build crafting. And lastly, if there's something that doesn't fit, drop it down below. Now, let's start things off with a reply I absolutely agree with. I think this is a really good point and idea. It's myself, and I'm saying, in terms of build crafting, one of the biggest improvements that could be made is the addition of more armor mods. We got 2 new ones this season, and they've already impacted several of my builds. I would love to see 1 or 2 mods added with seasons instead of only new weapons. I think this is really important. If you look at the mod we got this season where Ionic Traces and Fire Sprites and Stasis Shards can get you armor charged, that's made a huge impact on the meta on build crafting, way more than adding the, 10th pulse rifle with outlaw kill clip. You know what I'm saying? Weapons are nice, new weapons are great, but I think I would take a couple of less weapons and replace those with a couple of more armor mods, and I think overall that would make a huge difference every season. But moving on to some of the more popular replies, firstly we have one by popular streamer Clyde, and he's saying, stop buffing and nerfing exotics off percentage usage. Build crafting has always been fun until now, no diversity in the game at the moment, just throw on meta weapons and melt bosses. I understand it's hard to fix because players complain about health pools. I kind of see where he's coming from. Certainly, nerfing off percentages is absolutely a problem. That's why the Stompies keep catching nerfs, right? If you actually look at the exotic effect of the Stompies versus some other hunter exotics, I'd rather verse people with Stompies than Omnioculus. You know what I'm saying? Constantly invisible, doing crazy stuff with smokes. But Stompies has a really high usage rate because it has a great neutral game. And because of that, it keeps catching nerfs. Just because something is popular doesn't mean it's overpowered. Part of the fact that could really contribute to the high usage could be that it's easy to use or easy to acquire, right? And I think that is kind of overlooked when you're always just looking at percentages of usage, which it's been proven that Bungie does do, because every time they justify a nerf, they show us the percentage usage, right? So I think there are other factors for sure. Now, the no diversity is an interesting one. I kind of think the more of the reason for that is just because of the seasonal artifact. Guys, if you look at the seasonal artifact, Bungie is literally saying, like, here's what's gonna be overpowered this season. It's like void, 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 or like arc, damage reduction while arc, throw way more arc grenades. So like, obviously I'm going to use an arc build. You've literally shown me the seasonal artifact mods that make it absolutely busted. And so that's why I think that within a season we get a little bit of a lack of diversity, because Bungie is really like forcing these paths of what's really good kind of down our throats in a sense. Now, it's cool that it changes up every season, but again, that's why the diversity isn't as strong, is because there's very clear paths on what is good every single season. Now here's another popular reply. You gave us a go fast update 2 years ago and then pretty much destroyed it by making us slower and supers take 7 to 8 minutes to get. Makes no sense. I feel like I'm playing Team Shot Vanilla D2 again instead of playing a game that's been updated over time. Feels downgraded. I get where this guy's coming from because, you know, we've had these wild swings in the Destiny meta. We've had it where, yeah, vanilla Destiny, very slow, took forever to get abilities. Then we have the Go Fast update. And then I think, you know, you could really say that it tipped too far the other direction. People were spamming nothing but abilities. People were doing everything other than getting into gunfights within the game. And, you know, it just like these wild swings have it so that you have some part of the population who loves getting into gunfights, who doesn't like getting spammed with grenades, and you have another part of the player population who loves spamming the grenades, right? And so you're just always going to disagree based on the state of the game. It's hard to find kind of a happy medium here. Got one from Snurf here saying, revert the shoulder charge nerf, we don't care about PvP. Brother, I feel you. Dude, I am still on the copium shoulder charges for my Titan. Oh my goodness, like it feels bad, okay? I hate not being able to shoulder charge, use that mobility in PvE. I totally understand for PvP, and even PvE, like having that degree of movement for free is pretty insane, but yeah, it feels bad to play, certainly. Now, we got another pretty popular one here saying, will Apotheosis Veil and Skull of Dire Ahamkara ever get reworked to be useful? Maybe as super damage buffs, as Nova Bomb is pretty weak still. Also a few upgrades such as Cerberus +1, Colony, Huckleberry, and Fighting Lion are all really interesting but feel underwhelming in PvE. Fighting Lion, it's better than people think, let me tell you. So this is actually a great point, even with like we had it recently, I think, leading up to this season, a huge article on all these exotics getting buffs, but it really wasn't that many. It was a lot of bug fixes and there were some nerfs thrown in. And again, like Apotheosis Veil and Dire Skull of Ahamkara, great examples. Like nobody uses those and nobody has used those in forever. Why are they not getting buffed? It is a little bit weird. And again, we're talking like for years at this point, certain exotics have just, Bungie has refused to buff them for whatever reason. So I would love to see more buffs for underused exotics more often, for sure. Now, in the feedback section about Guardian abilities, by far the most interacted with reply was, of course, Salt Greppos. This guy has been causing some fights within the Destiny 2 community, but at the end of the day, he is a super talented player. I think he has 3 Raid World's First belts, so obviously he knows the inner workings of the game and he plays a ton, but again, he's often asking for nerfs and people do not like when their favorite stuff is nerfed. So here's what he had to say. For PvE, abilities uptime is often too high, either due to overtuned exotics or the new mod system / fragments. Most healing sources, but mainly well and restoration, are completely unbalanced. I don't know if it's ability related, but many damage reduction values are overtuned / shouldn't stack. And when you see 5 retweets and 24 quotes, my man's getting beaten up in the quote tweets. So, again, he is advocating for us to become weaker in PvE. And of course, he's got a point, right? Whether you disagree with him or not, of course he's got a point. Because yeah, if you're playing a character that has access to restoration ×2, and if you're not, your degree of survivability, it changes massively, right? If you have stuff like Woven Mail versus something that can't get access to that, your degree of survivability changes massively. And so you do have like a pretty big discrepancy on just, you know, subclasses that get access to this stuff and subclasses that don't. And the ones that don't often see a ton of play. Now, is it enough to warrant like these sweeping nerfs to make you feel weaker? I don't know, like on the one hand, it would make content more challenging and more engaging. On the other hand, you know, is making everyone weaker really going to, benefit the majority of players. You've got to understand that most people who play the game are casual. That's literally the definition of casual, makes up the biggest amount of the player base, right? So they're not interested in getting things nerfed and have their characters weaker for more challenge. They don't necessarily want more challenge in the game. I think part of that can be maintained by adding better end game content for us to take these, arguably overpowered abilities and put them to the test, right? But then that causes a whole new other aspect of the problem, is people don't want hardcore endgame content because they don't interact with that content. So basically what I'm saying is this will be an argument for until the end of time. No one will ever agree, and we're all going to hate each other because of it. It's that's basically what happens every time, unfortunately. Now, another really popular reply to the abilities feedback was the YouTuber Cool Guy, and he said, PvP-wise, I know a ton hate, including myself, all of the added fluff to engagements over the years. It didn't used to be that way. Damage resistance, overshield, restoration, healing, etc., all of it. All of that needs to do only 10% of what it does currently, tone it all down. So it's so interesting, right? This is getting not quote tweeted. People are mainly agreeing with this in terms of PvP, but Salt kind of says almost the same thing for PvE, and people are like, no, are you serious? Don't touch our characters. So it definitely dichotomy between PvE and PvP. I have to agree with Cool Guy here. Guys, nothing is more annoying than almost winning a gunfight with the hunter, and suddenly he's spamming jump, and then he's healing, and next thing you know, you're fighting the guy a second later, and he's got full health, and you're like, what's going on here? Or Titans, can I fight a single Titan who doesn't have an overshield up? It absolutely does get annoying, and also it really messes with all of these time to kill values. The weapons in the game are all balanced around time to kill at a pretty general median amount of health, right? Because your resistance impacts your health a little bit. So you have all these balances in terms this hand cannon will take 3 shots to kill, and then it'll be balanced. But the balancing factor is that in those 3 shots, it's a fast time to kill, but if you have to take a 4th shot, then your time to kill sucks. But if everyone has an overshield, you're always taking that 4th or 5th shot. And so you have these weapons that are pushed out of the meta because they have risky time to kills, but since you're always fighting people with overshields and restoration and stuff, they never get to execute on them. So it messes with the weapon balance as well. That's a little bit of a different point, but I think, I really don't know what Bungie is going to do in terms of PvE and PvP, because there needs to be pretty different changes for both of these environments. So good luck, Bungie. Yeah. Now, in the section about weapon feedback, one of the more popular ones was YouTuber DFP saying, my shotgun has this issue where it shoots fluffy pillows at people. Please help. Same, dude. There is nothing more frustrating in this game when you use a shotgun than when the circle of your shotgun is filled with the enemy's body. There is nowhere for the pellets to go on your screen other than in this guy's cranium, and you don't get the kill. And you're like, dude, literally, he's inside the circle. Every pellet is going in this guy. Or even worse, you shoot, you get a hit marker, at the same time, you're shot and you're killed. And the guy is using the same shotgun as you, and I've had it where the guy had a worse roll as me. And you're like, how does that work? How does it work? Shotguns have always been inconsistent. It's very frustrating. I don't know what Bungie can do to fix it, but yeah. I'm on the team pillow shooting shotguns. I know for a fact. Some people out there, they got the blast shotguns. They got the lethal shotguns, not me. Now, another interesting reply in the weapons feedback section was this guy saying, why are glaives so scary to you? For a small moment in time, I felt powerful with them and was happy at the huge asymmetric risk reward for being in the melee, but every step you take makes them way worse. Also, the exotic glaives need to build charge on melee kill at a minimum. And it goes on even more for the glaive love. Glaive aficionado right here saying the Syntho nerf was heavy-handed. A glaive melee only does melee damage, and you can read the rest for yourself, but I really think this guy has a point. Glaives had a niche. I remember using glaives in Grandmasters even, because when they were unstoppable and the block, oh my goodness, the block absorbed so much damage. And it's like, yeah, like why nerf the Synthos? Oh, because you can melt some random boss that you can melt with rocket launchers anyways. Oh no, Bungie. Like, I 100% agree with this guy. I also think that Glaives are the worst weapon to explain to new players. Imagine you're just starting the game, all right? You load up Destiny, you start your journey, you get a Glaive, okay? It's a Void Glaive. You're thinking, oh, my Void mods will work with this. No, they don't. The melee is kinetic, but sometimes it isn't, but most of the times it is. All right? And then, wait a minute. Does this damage buff? You're thinking, oh, if I get a glaive with a damage buff, or I, put something on, put an armor mod on that increases my void weapon damage, my melee damage will do more damage. No, it won't. The shooting part will. The other part won't. That is so weird to explain to people. Like, that is basically two different modes of the weapon. And I understand why they did this for balancing reasons, but everything about the glaives is just counterintuitive to how they should work. If you have a void glaive, it should all be void damage, and it should trigger void stuff. If I get a melee kill with my void glaive, it should do volatile rounds, okay? And the solar one can do incandescent and stuff like that on melee kills, because why not? Because every boss in the game stomps you. What are they so afraid of? Oh no, glaives are decent. God forbid. Now, in the general feedback section, one of the more popular ones is this tweet saying, I want to farm Ghosts of the Deep for new weapons, but as armor also drops and bloats out encounter loot, it kills the drive to farm. Would love to see some more ways to guarantee weapons in current dungeons, similar to how Hymn of Desecration, a consumable, worked in Pit of Heresy. I think this is like a pretty great point, and also I think raids really apply to this, because at least with dungeons you can turn it to master difficulty and get adept, you can get artifice armor. With raids, dude, even on master raids, you do not care about the armor drops, all right? If you're good enough to do master raids, and heck, even normal raids, you're probably good enough to already be getting artifice armor, which is just a strict upgrade to armor. So, like, yeah, being able to say, hey, I want to guarantee a weapon, even if it's like he mentioned, a consumable for one encounter, I guarantee the weapon, that would really help with farming, because nothing is worse than running a raid or running a dungeon, especially like a raid for reds, and you just get all armor, the whole run armor, and you're like, oh, it's just such a vibe kill. Just a little bit of ways to reduce that RNG I think would be a great idea. Now, moving on from there, in the exotic armor and build crafting section, one of the more popular ones was from Frostbolt here saying, where are the people who brought us Mask of Bacchus, Hoarfrost Z, Assassin's Cowl, Caliban's Hand, fun, creative exotics? You're hurting us with these non-aspirational exotics, lol. Using a hunter exotic to buff my glaive? Really? I see where he's coming from. Listen, I'm gonna play devil's advocate a little bit here. I don't mind like exotics that let you specialize. It's weird, right? Like I wouldn't mind an exotic that, makes for example, the Lucky Pants for the Hunter, it makes hand cannons godly, and you can use random hand cannons to take down bosses and stuff. They're pretty insane, honestly. That's cool, right? Just specializing your build around a certain weapon type. In this case, glaives. That's cool. But it seems weird that, like, because the exotics are class-based, it's like one class, only one class gets to specialize in this weapon type. And also, they're often just not very powerful. Aside from even the ones I mentioned, the Lucky Pants, like, they're rarely used. Some people in the comments are going to be like, I love the Lucky Pants, and more power to you, but like it's not like they're super meta or anything. So yeah, with these type of exotics, I think Bungie kind of always really misses the mark, especially when there's other exotics that do extremely powerful things that don't require you to try to dedicate your build to one single weapon type. So yeah, I see where he's coming from. Another popular one in the general section is this one here. Are there any future plans to allow players to favorite or possibly search or sort with their shader inventory whilst in their appearance customization? This is definitely a small gripe and concern, but having to tab through dozens of pages sucks. Oh, this guy's on the money right here. I don't think anyone would disagree with this. It is so annoying to go through all the shaders, man. Yeah, like favoriting, having like 10 favorite shaders that come up first on your page, or like getting to customize the first page of your shaders so that you have like your favorite ones easy to access. Great idea. There needs to be more stuff like that, period. Even like transmogging armor, just having it like randomly, you have to go through all the different ones to find stuff. There needs to be some better ways to organize that stuff. These things were implemented, everything was kind of shoved in there, and they're kind of left to their own devices, and I think they need some improvements, especially when real money's involved, in the sense that like you can buy shaders, you can buy transmog stuff with silver, at least make the experience, right? Like, where's that money going? Use some of that money, Bungie, refund it to make that a better experience for all of us. Alright guys, and the last one we're going to go over is in the Guardian's abilities section, with Gray saying, the biggest quality of life change I'd love to see is an overhaul to the UI regarding displayed buffs and timers. It was crowded before, but now the armor charge system crowds it up even more to where it's probably very unintuitive for new players. Let me tell you something, Gray. It's not just new players. It's me. I've been playing since the Destiny 1 alpha, and if I look down in the left corner of my screen to see what buffs I have no idea what's going on. Let me give you a great example. I've made videos on certain exotics or legendary weapons, and I'm trying to showcase their perks or whatever. And I'm looking down in the left corner to see, all right, how long does this exotic ability last for example? Often it's not even on the screen because I'm using a build and I'll just put the exotic on and be like, okay, let me test this. And I kill an enemy, or I kill a couple enemies, I activate the exotic, I look down, and I've got armor charge, I've got speed boost, I've got amped and whatever else, and literally the exotic ability I'm looking for isn't even displayed on the screen. Multiple times I've had to go in and like change around my armor pieces, like take stuff off, just so I can see what I'm looking for, just so I can actually see the exotic ability I'm trying to test. And so that's a huge problem when a lot of the buffs, there's so many of them, there's so many things going on that they're not even displayed on your screen. And obviously, like, that can be a problem in determining, oh, what should I do? Is this active? Is this working? Well, if it's not displayed on your screen, you're not going to know. Again, there needs to be some sort of overhaul to actually display all these things at once, because you should be able to know all of the different buffs happening to your character at the same time. Now, that's going to be difficult to do, Bungie, but it needs to be done, okay? Guys, that is it for the video. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed a little something a little bit different. If you did, let me know in the comment section down below. Or if you didn't, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll hide my face forevermore. But if you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.